Had to fix that sound. Joseph, good morning, wherever you are. Hoping for the broadcast.
The Rabbit R1 is a tech product that has raised tens of millions in venture capital, promised the world, and delivered on almost none of it. Worse, though, it's built on a scam that the founder is now trying to distance himself from. But hey, where are my manners? I'm trying to be more positive in 2024. So let's let this company introduce themselves at least before we say anything negative about them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I'm the founder and CEO of Rabbit. This is the Rabbit R1. I can speak or type with R1. I can also use R1 to call a ride. I can also use R1 to order food. I can also make R1 to a set of more complex actions. For example, if I want to plan a trip to London, I can just describe what I wish in full to R1. You can order the R1 now at rabbit.tech. And we are shipping Easter 2024.
Well, there you go. That's not so bad. You got yourself a standard tech guy in a black shirt promising the world Apple keynote background. What could go wrong? Oh, and I guess it's past Easter 2024, so the product should have shipped. So before we talk about the scam angle, let's briefly check in with Tech YouTube for how this AI assistant is assistanting.
The thing that you get at the beginning is like borderline non-functional.
Book an Uber to LTT Labs.
The rideshare status is currently unavailable.
Get me a ride.
Apologies. The Uber ride request couldn't be processed.
Everyone deserves the fastest, most reliable internet speeds, regardless of where they live. With Spectrum Internet, you can power all of your devices to...
What is this?
You are holding a taco.
Oh, that's not good. I could give them a few lessons on positivity. Turns out, basically everyone in the tech sector tag teamed this product for being non-functional or plain wrong about things that Rabbit said the R1 could handle. Things just weren't working. But what if I told you that wasn't the biggest scam? That this company is built on something much worse. And now that I've been so cheery and positive, let's go down the rabbit hole and see what's under the hood. Yes, it's a bunch of rabbit jokes. So the first thing we need to do is go to their webpage. The R1 is created by something called Rabbit Incorporated.
Check this out.
This company has a strange history. It was originally registered under a different name, Cyber Manufacture Co. In fact, they changed their name 2 months before their official announcement. And it turns out that name change is pretty significant because Cyber Manufacture Co. wasn't just like a shell company or the same company under a different name. They had separately raised venture capital for a completely different project. Not AI, it was for NFTs. Now, before you laugh, remember, this is 2021 when people took NFTs very seriously. According to a press release, the project was called Gamma, and it was at the intersection of gaming, community ownership, and Web3 buzzwords.
Yeah, remember that company?
What does that have to do with AI? Well, not really much. Conversely, Rabbit today also sort of wants nothing to do with crypto. Their founder, Jesse, announces for Rabbit, let me be clear, quote, we will never touch crypto. Never. Okay, well, that's pretty strong, but given their whole past is built on crypto NFTs, it's a little strange. Now, when Gamma is brought up, Jesse doesn't really deny that he ran the project. He sort of makes it sound like it was no big deal, just kind of a thing of the past. Quote, Gamma was a fun little project I was involved with during early COVID time. My main work is to build a Unreal Engine 5 space station themed game that I later open sourced. Yes, Gamma released NFTs, and I bought a bunch myself just for fun. Never trade, never released any token or crypto coins, and I left that project once the game was open sourced. Well, there you go, haters. Case closed. It was a fun little multi-million-dollar project he did. He just built it on Unreal Engine. He may have sold a few NFTs, but he bought a few NFTs. So, it's not a scam. Please don't look into this. Please do not look into this. This is not a scam. Oh, some people may have looked into it. First, Emily Shepard, and then the writer and podcaster Ed Zitron jumped in the fray with a great article. Now, I spoke to Ed, and he told me a very different story than Jesse about this Gamma project.
It's so weird, and it's the same company. And in 2021, they raised this $6 million, and then Jesse Liu, across several hours of Clubhouse I subjected myself to, promised the world and more.
Now, I have to say, promise the world and more is slightly inconsistent with fun little COVID project. So I decided I needed to listen to these recordings of Jesse talking about Gamma myself back in the day and find out who was really telling the truth. Jesse or Jesse?
I don't want to make Gamma, or none of us want to make Gamma as a hype and dump program. This is a legit team with millions of dollars of fundings behind. Basically, we're dumping millions of monies into it just to make sure that it will be a next level experiences.
Okay. I have to admit, it definitely sounds like Ed is right. This is sold as whatever the opposite of a quick NFT hype and dump project is. And this is where things get much weirder.
So NFT is only just the beginning, the very beginning of this. We probably think that the NFT part will only take, no more than 20% of the entire weight of this entire Gamma project. So after NFT, we have this huge, groundbreaking ideas about Gammaverse. Then after that, we have this, again, huge groundbreaking ideas about the clean energy versus Gamma coin. And that, the chances that Gamma coin become the first not only carbon neutral, but actually carbon negative crypto 2.0 or Bitcoin 2.0, I think that's completes the entire Gamma story.
Hopefully now you're starting to see why I think it's strange for Jesse to claim that Gamma was a fun little project where he never released these tokens or crypto coins, when that's sort of what he promised. He told people he was going to release a carbon negative Bitcoin 2.0. And look, I know it sounds stupid now, but again, 2021 was a different time. And remember, Jesse had millions in backing.
Okay, so I'm not a fan of. Look, I'm going to explain to you why this was so important to so many projects. He said carbon zero. If you're in Web3, then you may hear about a niche community, I'm included in that one, that often yells about energy consumption whenever it's related to mining and Bitcoin. So when he came and said he was coming through with the net zero, the whole community was floored. Of course, word of mouth took over. So of course we all knew who Gamma was. But they never fulfilled anything that they said within those years. So they fell off radar for a lot of people in the community. But for the people who stayed and invested, they got the worst of it.
It's not hard to see how people took him seriously. He said it didn't.
And I'm sorry, this spawned off a bunch of other little mini projects whose focus was now on sustainability and net zero.
Matter how the NFTs did. He was going to execute. But where are those millions? The money raised from customers. When the company changed to Rabbit, where did it go? Did it go to develop Rabbit, a completely different project? I don't know. I'd love to sit down with Jesse and find out. What I do know, though, is that so many of the promises of Gamma didn't happen. And this is relevant to the R1, not just because this project is built on the skeleton of that scam project. It's also because the R1 was overhyped in a similar way as a do-it-all device. But this same company isn't some historyless company. They have a history of abandoning investors like they did with Gamma NFTs. I mean, Jesse even told people who were worried about the NFTs, don't pay attention to that. It's all going to work out. You just got to be a true supporter.
I would suggest for our true supporters, do not pay too much detail about the current NFT mechanisms, because that doesn't matter. I can safely say that even if the entire NFT project completely failed, which I don't think that's the case, we're gonna still push the Gammaverse, and we're gonna still push the clean energy and Gamma coin happen using our funds.
I cannot emphasize enough That was a lie. That never happened. The clean energy gamma coin never got published or built or launched, even though Jesse said they were going to do it. They had the money. By the way, we all know it's vaporware, but I think it's important to really hear him sell it, because this is the same guy who wants you to take him seriously when he sells you the future of AI. Take a listen to the whole vision really laid out.
Gamma coin, which is basically Bitcoin 2.0, that is 100% generated by clean energy. And we did the math, we did the calculations to where if you own over 1,800 milliwatts of clean energy generation, that means you will have extra generated electricity that you can donate back to city grid. So the general concept is, let's say if you own a Gamma NFT, that means you own the equal portion in valuation of your NFTs at that moment of that clean energy grid that we started building in the real world. That means you own that power, that portion of the clean energy solar panels that generates that power. And that means you own that power. And that also means that you own that portion of that power, and that power will be used to generate Gamma coins. That means you can earn your Gamma coins.
Just prepare yourself for an incoming rant. Yep. So I'm explaining to you why this was amazing, but a problem. So for me, as a techie, I said, well, if he's able to do that, then that means they're using some type of hybrid mechanisms in the back, right? And I think that's amazing, because then we're going to be able to have finally some type of protocol that can help us with the carbon credit conversions. He lied. He lied. He lied so bad. So not only did a majority of the people who were setting up their projects based on this and waiting for this tentatively to drop, they fell in the wind, because if there's not a viable product for them to use to achieve the goals they're trying to get to, and green contracts, smart contracts that's net zero, carbon free, carbon friendly, whatever it is, then there's just no way to get it done without having to code it yourself or hire a team yourself. That's the thing about Web3. If you have a viable product that's on market for people to use and adapt and adopt, you're good to go, because they're going to use it, especially if it's free. It's not even a question, but it has to exist. Does that make sense? So I don't know. I was perturbed by this. He's not in the position to be able to offer that. I know I am, because I know that's what I'm building the solar node for, as part of the project that I just showed y'all yesterday, and I was coding it. So it's just the idea that he was so close, but he came up with like the greatest con that he was never going to be able to ever actually sit down and program and offer. And me, the techie, while I'm doing it because I just had the passion and want to do it anyway, I'm doing it and I see what it takes to build it. So it's still kind of crazy that out of all that money, he couldn't just hire somebody like me to come code and figure it out, or go hire a team, put together a team. Let's go code and figure it out. That's crazy. That's how you know you're dealing with a thief.
Out of this entire clean energy cycle.
Free things can be kind of lame. Free keychain.
All right. Let's try to suspend our disbelief for a second here and figure this out. Basically, he's saying buying NFTs somehow would build a clean energy grid, which you would sort of co-own, which would make clean tokens, sort of a thing. And look, I know that sounds a little insane, but the funny thing is, it's sort of the most sensible part of this project, because as I learned, that wasn't even close to the end of it.
They were saying there was going to be a storefront on, I think, Fairfax Avenue across from Supreme in LA. They were going to do a comic book. They claimed there's a Discord
comic book?
Yeah, they said a comic book, a TV show, an MMORPG, and at one point, Yes. And then Jesse Liu at one point said that the future of this thing you would control using your brain logic. It is insane.
Am I the only one who doesn't know what brain logic control is? Look, when I first heard this, I thought this cannot be right. This
Neuralink.
project is already crypto plus NFTs plus clean energy plus comic books. Surely they aren't going to wrap in AI as well, right?
The ultimate goal is that each NPC will be powered by AI algorithms, and then you will be interact directly with them using your natural language and your brain logic. I think that will be the ultimate goal. And when I say ultimate goal, I don't think that's like a 10 years plan. I think, in the next couple of years, we might just have a very good chance to achieve it.
Oh, he did. He promised it in 2 years. Okay, well, why not toss in AI to the buzzword salad? In fact, I guess it maybe relates it more to Rabbit. Maybe we do have the connection, right? The brain logic interface is the connection. I mean, why not just make it the Matrix while you're at it?
I mean, it surely is a Matrix to my extent, and to the original concept of the Matrix, that you will be reborn with your alter identity in this metaverse, and whatever you do in the real world matches the exact consequences in the digital world.
Okay, did this man
He reversed Uno Sims. Oh my God.
just do the if you die in the game, you die in real life, unironically, while selling NFTs? The answer is yes. And my only follow-up question is, if you get scammed in the metaverse, do you get scammed in real life in this world too? Look, I'm not here to stump for the bigwig venture capitalists who lost their faces on this. At the end of the day, these are both consumer-facing businesses. They got real people to invest real money into both the $200 Rabbit R1 and into this Gamma NFT project. Both are overhyped. One just already didn't deliver what they promised, while the other is working on fixing it. So, what can be done here? Well, for one, the minimum is that the Gamma NFT holders should be refunded the money they spent. I mean, this isn't even my crazy, wacky suggestion. Jesse suggested it himself in those Clubhouse calls.
And I better pay my money to collect your NFT back if you think this is just an NFT hype and dump project.
And I promise you, everybody, after this did a buyback because it was a way for the criminals to have a loophole way out. Oh, we're doing a buyback. We're doing a buyback. It was either you're burning or you're doing a buyback. Oh, we're doing a buyback, and you can get as many as you want. We're going to buy back.
I have to say that. So the communities will have my words. Anyone that is not envisioning the Gamma to the stage 2 or 3, just want to make a couple of E's out of stage 1, reach out to me. I will buy your NFTs. Okay, I will buy your Gammas and get a out. All right?
All right. We'll take you up on that. Yes, I got a haircut. So I reached out again to Jesse about these refunds, but he didn't respond again. The Rabbit team did, though. They told me Jesse would not refund investors. The quote was out of context. The project was never abandoned. It was actually open sourced. What does that mean? Well, Rabbit claims the Gamma team delivered everything they promised in 3 stages. The one problem is the 3 stages they gave me aren't the 3 stages they promised. The metaverse, by the way, they said they created too, is not a metaverse. It's an Unreal Engine project file that I downloaded to play. It's based on a starter game called Lyra. You can see the starter assets here. And the things Gamma did do made the game so buggy that it crashed every minute. But it gets worse. The Rabbit team denied Gamma ever promised the carbon negative coin, which they repeatedly promised. They said the coin you referred to never materialized, nor was it ever promised or delivered. Now, obviously, I thought I had a stroke. Here I was listening to Jesse promise it, but also he even put it in a video saying, explaining Gamma with our roadmap.
Ultimately, our efforts will lead to the Gamma token, the first ever carbon negative cryptocurrency powered by our sun. Together, we will create a sustainable future for all life on the planet we call home. Join the Discord today.
I saw a group of people. Turn my fan off.
So I asked ChatGPT to build me a Shopify store, and it said, no, we can't do that.
Meet your fellow crewmen.
My bad. I saw a group in the Gamma channel. I saw a group in the Gamma channel get together so that they could start crowdfunding to help speed up the process. Okay, so it was a group of people that crowdfunded their own money together with their own like network to help raise extra capital so that they could help launch one part of the project's arm so that it could happen quicker. What am I talking about? This group was going to send a Bitcoin miner in space. They were going to put a Bitcoin miner in space to harness the solar winds and some more stuff. And they was putting the money together for it to help him get there faster. Okay, this is real. This happened.
Gum.
I don't know how they could have been more clear. I think it's amazing to have them say now, we never promised that, only to find a roadmap video with you promising, in big letters, carbon negative cryptocurrency. It's just gaslighting at this point to pretend otherwise. What is funny is that Rabbit also mentions clean energy initiatives they say they did, like reducing gas fees. But again, that's not what they promised. They promised a clean energy grid.
Gas fees can be zero. Okay, just so you know.
Jesse also promised it on Discord. His post was in Chinese, but he's clearly talking about OpenSea transactions being used to buy land to build the clean energy grid, which is going to help mine Gamma coins, which is exactly what he said on Clubhouse. I mean, these people are contradicting themselves in multiple languages. So I'll let you decide at the end of the day if the Rabbit team is being honest here. Towards the end, they even tried to tell me that Gamma, in our opinion, and as stated in the fact sheet, has no connection with Rabbit. But the fact sheet they're talking about, they sent me in a document called Gamma Project Fact Sheet. You can't just declare your own facts when it's the same company who made both things, the Rabbit and the Gamma Project. How can you say there's no connection? But after realizing no accountability would be taken and no refunds would be given by this project, I began to feel bad for Gamma investors. It made me wonder, what else is this team hiding? Well, I decided to find out.
All right, yeah, I heard part two. This is when it gets fun. Going into I know y'all be thinking none of this stuff be going on in the back. It do. This is all this stuff happens in the back chat, in the back channels, in the DMs. Trust me, I've seen it. Only for you, the average viewer, right, the average consumer, to just see this later at a CES event, at an Apple event, at a TED Talk event, and it's just so amazing, and you have no clue what the heck is going on. Here we go.
Tech company gaslit me so hard about their previous scam that I decided to investigate their current project, Rabbit. And what I found was shocking. For months, we've been promised that this orange box, the Rabbit R1, has an AI inside of it called Lamb. It can organize your life, text your friends, restock your fridge. All you had to do was ask.
Start my morning routine. Order me an Uber and find me a good podcast to pass the time. Oh, and tell everybody that I might be late.
That was delicious. Check the fridge and order the ingredients to make that again tomorrow.
Now, based on marketing like this, they pre-sold over $20 million worth of these, and they raised another $30 million in venture capital, only to have MKBHD say, yeah, the product's not that great. But I bought this thing to answer a different question. Not is it good or bad, but is the AI, the Lamb, a scam? Well, we're going to find out. I wanted to start by just trying to recreate their ad with this thing. Start my morning routine.
To start your morning routine, you might consider tasks like waking up, freshening up, having breakfast, and planning your day. How can I assist you further with your morning routine?
Order me breakfast.
The DoorDash rabbit is under maintenance. Sorry for the inconvenience, and please come back later.
Tell everyone I'm going to be late.
I recommend informing the relevant parties directly about your delay.
Yeah, but no, you do it.
I'm unable to directly communicate with others on your behalf.
That was delicious. Check the fridge and order the ingredients so I can make it tomorrow.
The DoorDash rabbit is under maintenance.
Yeah, it basically failed at everything. But remember, our question is not, is it good or bad? The question is, does the LAM, the AI, the large action model, does the secret sauce of this thing exist? Because the founder and CEO claims it's here on your device now. He claims LAM is a system that can infer and model human actions on computer applications, or as he puts it,
we use LAM to bring AI from words to action.
Right. This AI is supposed to do things on your behalf. And so when they'd show demos like this, where someone is planning a trip, it does look like the LAM is controlling the web page. You can see this AI clicking through Airbnb by itself, and it all kind of felt like the future. It's why people ordered $20 million worth of these little boxes. But a group investigation has revealed that Rabbit is not actually using a new foundational AI model at all. It's actually ChatGPT with some hard-coded scripts, which is funny because Jesse says Rabbit is faster than ChatGPT.
You will also know that the response speed is much faster than using some of the LLM assistant apps with web browsing, such as ChatGPT.
Now, that's a very sneaky claim when most of your product is ChatGPT, so obviously not faster. But you wouldn't know that because part of Rabbit's prompt is, quote, I will never mention I am a large language model created by OpenAI. In fact, the part where they do use a different AI is really only search, which is why Jesse very carefully says Rabbit is faster than ChatGPT with web browsing. That's the only part of this device where they don't really use ChatGPT for it. But they don't use their AI model either. They use a different off-the-shelf AI called Perplexity. So it's extremely misleading to say Rabbit is faster than ChatGPT because most of the product is ChatGPT, but it just can't tell you that because it's instructed not to. Now that we understand this, let's talk about the actual process of how Rabbit does more than search and is supposed to get things done for you. You might think it's a sophisticated AI, but actually what Rabbit does when you call an Uber or order DoorDash is it takes your question, puts it into ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, and if it's something like play a song on Spotify, it will use hard-coded scripts to navigate websites like Spotify. And those scripts are not AI. This is super important. This is the part where they say, yeah, we've got this new foundational AI model thing that does the thing. No, the thing pressing the buttons is not intelligent. Rabbit is using a platform called Playwright, which is a web automation tool, the opposite of intelligent AI. And we know this because of several researchers who got access to part of Rabbit's code base. I worked with them, I'll link them below, and I spoke with one of them, Emily Shepard, to understand why this distinction, AI, not AI, matters.
This is quite a big deal because the way LAM has been observed to work doesn't match with what they've told us about how it works. It's meant to be an AI live controlling a website and understanding that website. But what they have is just a bunch of static commands. You know, do this, do this, do this. And the problem with that is if a user interface changes, the website changes, it can't cope with that. So anytime Spotify redesigns their user interface, or anytime DoorDash redesigns something, or even if an advert pops up in a new location, or there's a capture pops up, or something unexpected happens that isn't in that very rigid step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, a flat hard-coded Playwright script can't cope with that. And that is the opposite of some intelligent AI actually being able to understand the page, which is the claim that had been made.
That's right. obviously there's a big difference between AI, not AI. Jesse himself knows the difference and made it clear Lamb wouldn't break like a hard-coded script would.
It doesn't really matter if a app completely revamped the UI.
Dialpad AI has the answers your customers need. It won't make your jokes funny. Come on. But live AI coaching will keep your customers smiling at every step. Dialpad AI gets the science of sales. It won't actually clone.
Got it. So when Spotify redoes its app and it moves podcasts from tabs and then it puts the tabs at the lower part or puts it in a hamburger drop down, it still knows that's the word podcast, and that's where you find podcasts inside of Spotify.
Exactly, because the fundamental philosophy logic is that all these modern software are designed for human eyes to perceive the information, and they have to have a setting somewhere.
Right. Of course, if this were AI, it would adapt to the user interface changes, but it's not. Which is why when apps that Rabbit supports change, they stop working. As people noticed in videos, in Discord, even I noticed it while testing this device. DoorDash had stopped working, presumably because of another UI change.
The DoorDash Rabbit is under maintenance.
Now, today, Rabbit actually admits that they use Playwright, but they're not willing to admit that Lamb, whatever it is not really doing a lot. Jesse responds, to say Lamb is just Playwright is equal to say ChatGPT is just a chat. We use Playwright as part of a component to operate Lamb. That doesn't mean the research and technology is fake. So what they're saying is Lamb is not these hard-coded scripts, but kind of they also admit these scripts exist. Maybe Lamb interacts with the scripts, maybe they create them, but even if that's true, it's not what they promised. Either way, everything that matters on this device is basically off-the-shelf software. The web actions are done by hard-coded scripts. Everything else is done by ChatGPT or Perplexity. So there's not much reason for the Lamb to do anything, whatever it actually does. And we're already so far from what Jesse originally promised, which I have to show you again. He kept saying was AI, not a script that would be doing all these actions for you.
We have a superhost computer that when Jason talks to his Rabbit R1 about ordering a hamburger from DoorDash, what's going on is that we first see if Jason's logging with DoorDash or logging with Uber Eats, right? And we saw, okay, Jason chose DoorDash, and then on that superhost, a Lamb is interacting virtually with a DoorDash app or website, a interface. And you don't see all of that because all of a sudden this is done all at once because it's AI.
He couldn't be clearer. The Lamb is interacting because it's AI.
Sorry for that. I had to get some water.
This is a flat out lie. At least currently, which he says the Lamb is here now. Now, I reached out over and over to the Rabbit team, pressing them again and again on this issue. What does the Lamb do? And they kept saying, oh, Playwright, yeah, that's the thing, but it's just part of how the Lamb controls things. But I kept asking, well, what does that mean? How does this thing exactly work? If the scripts are doing the work, what does Lamb do? And eventually I got to the point where I just questioned, look, is this real? Do you have proof that this Lamb can do all these amazing things? And I should have known I was going to get into trouble here because Jesse, the CEO, says, anyone challenging the Lamb legitimacy, I automatically become super defensive. And that was true. Here's part of the Rabbit team's response to me. To start off, I would love to know more about your background in tech, because if you are not specialized in AI and machine learning, any conclusion resulting from this conversation will have no real credibility or value from any audience, because this is a technical discussion in AI and machine learning. We welcome you to invite experts with valid certificates from the field to further look into this. Now look, I found this wild for a company that raised $30 million in venture, sold $20 million in product, to be feisty about questioning their product when it does not work as advertised, and we found out it's using hard-coded scripts instead of AI. How can they be surprised people are going to question what their thing actually does? But I also think it's funny they should say that I should invite experts to look into this, because I'm not nearly the first person to point these problems out. Several people who, as I said, I spoke with, have had issues with this device. They have looked at the code base. They have also claimed they couldn't find the Lamb. Others have jailbroken the R1, got into Rabbit's cloud to play Doom. And despite Rabbit saying they welcome credible critics, their reaction has been anything but welcoming. Emily, who we spoke to earlier, pointed out back in January that CAPTCHA would be a big concern for the Lamb. And Jesse's response is, sorry, I work for my team. I don't work for you, so you need to check my calendar before you command me to answer anything now. But fast forward to today, CAPTCHA is a huge problem. In fact, specifically with Uber, we had to answer 10 different CAPTCHAs, adding up a bunch of dice in order to get it working. It was a giant pain. It took us several tries. I began to wonder if I was actually part robot myself. But the point is, getting defensive about the problem didn't make the problem go away. And the same is true about getting defensive about the Lamb. Just because you tell people they have to be an expert to ask you questions won't stop the questions or the problems. But now I want to take a quick detour into the source code of the Rabbit itself, because I also have reviewed parts of the source code and I have serious data privacy concerns. There are things in this code base, and I can't share it for reasons that will become obvious. There are things that malicious actors could use to get any access to the replies the R1 has ever given. Now, of course, Rabbit might say they've dedicated a huge picture of a lock on their webpage to privacy, so you might think they're serious about it.
Man, trash. You want to know? Go look at folks' code base. That's specifically what people will come and snatch me for. Hey, Jade, can you go audit this smart contract by hand manually? Hey, Jade, can you go look at this code base? Why? Because they got me looking for stuff that's open. And this is exactly why.
But this is the same company that, if you read the fine print, they're tracking your precise geographic location and collect that data. The only consolation prize is this thing is shockingly bad at tracking you, which I found out while looking for restaurants.
Find me a restaurant near here.
Looking it up now. Venetian Hot Plate, San Juan Restaurant, and Butter Churn are highly rated restaurants in Port Aransas. For a broad...
I'm not in Port Aransas.
Let me see what I can find. For restaurants near you in Austin, Texas, consider the following options.
I'm not in Austin!
An Italian restaurant in downtown...
I'm not in Austin, Texas.
I use the internet connection to know where the R1 device is roughly located in order to provide you with relevant...
You're off by about 100 miles.
Thank you for the clarification. Let me refine the search for restaurants in your approximate location.
Is it gonna do it? Is it gonna do it? It just stopped. It just...
Nor depart from the perception of yours and your...
Yeah. I found its GPS to be really bad. Nevertheless, I didn't want to take any chances for my next experiments.
Which is why when I use this thing, I'm not in the $10 million studio at all. I'm in the $100 motel. Here to show you that once you know the code base, you can make some surprising predictions about what this thing's going to do. For example, when I tell the Rabbit to play anything, you might think that'd be
Get
random.
the music going now.
But it's not going to be. It's going to be the Beatles. How did I know that? Stop, 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 stop. Thank you. The reason I know it's going to do that is because it's hard-coded to do so in their prompting. They say if a user is going to say play anything, they should play the Beatles. Even when you specify, when I say play anything, don't play the Beatles. Got it?
Understood.
Play anything. It's still...
Okay, starting the music player now.
Another Beatles song. I don't have the copyrights to that, so we'll stop it right there.
All right, back now in the $10 million studio for real. No green screen back here. Look, this product is obviously bad. By the way, it's off right now. But again, what really upsets me is not that it's bad. is that the core selling point of this product is built on a lie. And that lie is the Lamb. They said it was on your device now. It's a new foundational AI. And the reason this company had to sell you a $200 product was this AI was so powerful.
Large action models concept and test results are so powerful that we decided to make a one-of-a-kind mobile device.
Yeah, Lamb was the justification for this hunk of plastic. But where is it? They say it's here now. He said it was going to be controlling your apps, but it's not. It's hard-coded, pre-written playwright scripts. And look, the best Rabbit at this point can argue, and it's hard to falsify or verify, is that Lamb might be part of the process of creating those automation hard-coded scripts for Playwright. As in, like, no, it's not live controlling your web browser or their web browser, but it can create the code that does it. Maybe that's what they're going to argue. But guess what? Playwright already has a tool for this. It's called CodeGen, where it watches what you do and just automatically creates the automation code for you. No fancy AI required. So I think the best thing you could say at this point about Jesse and Rabbit is that they vastly overpromised and underdelivered. The worst you could say is this is consumer fraud. Because even considering the possibility, and it is one, that Lamb is a real research project that's not ready, why lie about it being here now? Why not come clean and admit that whatever you're doing today is not what you originally advertised? This is not a new foundational AI controlling websites like a human. It's ChatGPT with an autoclicker. But there's one last thing I want to say. I was able to speak with an employee who worked for Rabbit, and on the condition of anonymity, what they told me was that Lamb as advertised does not exist, and that Lamb was a, quote, marketing term. Now, given that this was a very serious accusation, I reached out one final time to the Rabbit team to hear their response.
Everyone deserves the fastest, most reliable internet speeds, regardless of where they live. With Spectrum Internet, you can power all of your devices to enjoy streaming, video chatting, and gaming. I rely on Spectrum Internet. You should too.
Switch now.
Luminous is an inventory management system that gets your team on the same page with forecasting, purchasing, inventory.
They begged me not to investigate.
If you think that CoffeeZilla is going to be able to do a goddamn thing, he's not going to be able to.
But now I've uncovered millions of dollars stolen.
Please don't believe this horse that are coming out of people's mouths that I've stolen money from you.
And just
it's so funny how like they literally be believing that's true. Oh, what y'all thinking? Cause let me get some music going. How y'all feeling today? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, tweet me on Twitter. I'll write back. I know you can write in the comments on Twitter too, on the broadcast, if you open it up. Let me see. Yeah, let's start it off with. Alright, I'm gonna get some more videos up and rolling. We're just focused on tech, you know, chilling. So Here's a song, and I'm gonna get the next tech item up first. So look good.
Well, folks, it's another beautifully dreadful evening, and here's a new record from Queen Herbie.
Give it to me, I'm lavish. Now the drip got damage. Washing down this sandwich, you baloney bitches.
Aim high and I swing low. Open mind, anything goes. TLC to these silly hoes, cause they ain't listening to Queen and it really shows. I baptize bitches with my holy flow. I don't fuck with no chickens, only goats. Out here looking like a vegan, oh she glows. They wanna know my secrets and my antidote. Ooh, self-care, good living. Vision board and a mission. Eat my greens, nutrition. You ain't on my vibe, then I don't gotta listen. Extra, extra, read all about it. Queen coming back with a brand new style. Been focused on my shit, making moves in silence. Working out, sleeping in, taking vitamins. Ooh, I've been waking up smiling. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now they calling me a highness. Ooh, I've been waking up smiling. Working out, sleeping in, taking vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C. Ooh. Vitamin D, vitamin bitch, vitamin please. Ooh, I read bullshit free for weeks. It's not you can put the color back on my cheeks. Now my influence is catastrophic. The beat break down as I get on it. Soon as Louis drop the C, some bitch I cop it. Be like SOS, you can't stop it. No smoke, marijuana, no show. For the drama, go flow like Madonna. No cones when I wanna meditate. In my sauna, levitate. Counting karma, she's a real one. Yeah, she's a stunner. She's a stunner. Extra, extra, we coming back with a brand new style. Been focused on my shit, making moves in silence. Working out, sleeping in, taking vitamins. Ooh, I've been waking up smiling. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now they calling me a highness. Ooh, I've been waking up smiling. Working out, sleeping in, taking vitamins.
This is the Humane AI pen. It's been blowing up the internet over the last few months with the combined intelligence of sophisticated AI plus the entire internet, all being brought to you in a way that you can still be completely present in a moment and not bogged down by the hassle of working around intrusive, addictive phone applications. And I just went hands-on with it. I spent about 4 hours using it and talking to the CEO, Imran, and I don't think I've ever wanted to love a piece of technology so much and yet still be unable to.
Who's Mr. Who's the Boss from YouTube?
This man is selling this product as of it being reported this morning here in America. Found out this morning that somebody's looking for a $750 million to $1 billion buyer. Oh, it would have helped if the microphone was near my face. Okay, dramatic pause. You ready? Bam, bam, bam. This dude is selling this product as of it was recently reported this morning. I found out this man is selling this product for $750 million to $1 billion in a deal that he is seeking for the Human AI pen, which has only been on market for 1 month. I find it crazy that you spent that much time developing something so innovative just to get rid of it in a month. Yeah, most people want to make a product that they want other people to acquiesce or sell. Sure. But normally that comes after time and after reaping in all of the rewards and the fancy that comes with it, right? A month? It's barely marinated on the shelf.
Finding YouTube video. Arun Maini, also known as Marissa Bose, is a popular YouTuber with a focus on technology, making him 28 years old.
So here's how it works. It clips onto your clothing, it stays there on standby most of the time, and then only when you decide that you want to engage with it do you place your finger on this touchpad and you speak. For example,
When do you think humans will settle on the moon?
Humans are expected to return to the moon in 2024 and have the first families on the moon by 2084.
Okay, so that's pretty cool, I guess. It can do music in quite an intelligent way. Could you play me some of Mozart's biggest hits? And then this is volume.
Just like that, yeah.
But those are still basic requests. The benefit of this being an AI-powered assistant is that you can also do things like,
look at this food and tell me what it is.
It's a white cardboard box with a clear plastic lid. The box contains fried chicken nuggets.
Do you want to see the coolest party trick of the century, though? Well, bring your hand in front, the baked-in camera will see that hand, and a laser projector housed inside the pin will fire out your display onto it. So this is my home menu. The way the controls work, it's rotate your hands to select something. So if I hover over my home widgets, for example, and then pinch, which is to click, I can cycle between them. The pin also has a depth sensor. So as I move my hand back, it knows that, and it can show you a contextual, quite literally behind the scenes menu based on what you're doing right now. So if I've just taken a photo, for example, and I want to preview that photo, raise your hand, you'll see the photo, push the hand back and it will give you the menu that lets you pick what you want to do with that photo, like share or delete it. And then as soon as you're done with something, you either clench to go back home or you just put your hand down. The pin will know and it will stop the projection almost immediately. So, is it good? Well, I'm really sorry to say this, because Imran, the CEO, he was so nice in person and he was a great host to us, but no, I don't think so. This is a really interesting category, and I have ideas for how this could be something that is pretty great, but as of right now, the humane pin is an incredibly poor proposition. Just before I get into that, though, I do want to give credit where credit's due. There are a few things about this that are spot on, and they do make you realize the potential.
When a rainy forecast.
It's not.
So the question is,
Raining.
are the products actually good and viable? Or are the people just good at their jobs by networking and having public speaking skills? Let you be the judge on that.
For starters, I think they have absolutely nailed the hardware. So long as you decide that you're okay with wearing a chest pin, then you probably won't find a better one. It's way smaller and lighter than I was expecting, and it's got 3 different kinds of backings.
It looks
which go
very
on the
light.
inside of your clothing
It
and
does.
magnetically
Look at that.
attached.
Oh my
One is a
gosh.
super lightweight latch for delicate clothing, so it doesn't
I love
touch.
it.
One is the standard battery booster, which is a bit thicker and also wirelessly charges the humane pin's internal battery. And then you have the most bulky, which is the clip that can manually fasten around your clothing. And I've got to say, my entire first impressions with this thing, before I turned the thing on, were great. The construction feels top-notch, with every pin being carved out of a solid block of aluminium, and the charging case has a really sturdy hinge with no sign of flexing. I think it looks pretty. It doesn't have any big garish logos, it's quite sleek and futuristic, and this trust light that indicates what it's doing at any moment for you, and also I guess for other people around you, is super seamlessly integrated. The magnets are really strong. I even tried running around with it. I mean, yeah, it does flop around a bit if you're wearing a loose t-shirt, but I was not at all worried that it was going to fall. And here's the final touch that I do think is quite smart. The base of the pin is one continuous touchpad. So while you don't have a traditional smartphone screen, you do have some of that physical touch experience that you've built up all that muscle memory for. So you can use this, for example, to swipe up and increase your volume, or double tap to take a photo, or hold down with 2 fingers to enter interpreter mode, which I'll get to in a bit. But the best part of it is it means there are no wake words. You're not having to start each interaction with, "Hey, humane," and that's really, really great. And there were moments with it where I saw what it could be. I asked it, "What's this tree in front of me?" And it told me, "It's a Japanese maple." And there was something incredibly uniquely satisfying about gaining that insight without needing to be interrupted from the moment with my phone. It felt like a cheat code. Because let's face it, as soon as your phone gets involved, that becomes your attention. Anytime you take a photo on your phone, you're entirely focused on getting the framing just right. Anytime you want to look something up, you're actually looking down at your hand instead of experiencing. Or another example was the one time that we used the interpreter translation feature and it actually worked well.
Namaste Imran, आपकी मिलके बहुत खुशी हुई.
Hello, Imran. It is a pleasure to meet you.
The point is, I see it. I see the vision, and I see small twinges of something magical. But when you actually boil it down to the practicality of using this and wearing this every single day, I can't see a single angle from which it makes sense. I mean, the first thing is the price. This is a $700 gadget, and $700 is
He missed a few components. It's a $699 retail MSRP price tag for the gadget, plus a $24 monthly subscription fee.
A one-off is maybe just about digestible, and you do get everything you need to use it. They also throw in 2 of the battery boosters in the box, which between them is enough battery for a full day of use. But here's the problem. Very little of the AI processing is being done on the device, so it needs an internet connection. And so because it needs an internet connection, it's not just that it basically does nothing when you're out in the middle of nowhere, but also it needs its own entirely separate data plan. So it's a $700 pin plus a $24 a month subscription on top of that, plus taxes and fees. And yeah, that $24 does also include unlimited AI requests on top of that data, but $24 a month is, I mean, that's 2 times what I'm paying for my phone contract. If you want to go abroad and carry on using the PIN, which is a big part of its appeal because of this whole translation feature, there's an extra fee on top of that. And the worst part of it, because I specifically asked about this, the minute that you stop paying that monthly fee, the device stops functioning. So let's say that I use this for 2 years, where I've paid $700 for the device, $600 for the subscription, $200 in extra taxes, another $100 for roaming fees, and just to finish it all off, another $100 for the clip and the latch, as they don't come with it. Even after $1,700 of investment into this product, as soon as I stop paying my subscription, because, I mean, would you plan to pay it for the rest of your life? Probably not, but at that point, Humane is basically saying that your PIN becomes a paperweight. So, fine, it's very expensive, but if its capability matches that, then maybe it's justifiable. Well, what Imran, the founder, was saying to me is that the PIN has the ability to run not just one, but many of the top current AI models. So, like GPT-4, for example, which is a very powerful AI that does usually require its own paid subscription for you to use. It has that on the go all the time, which is definitely not to be sniffed at. So one of the things that he was saying he used it for is when he's driving. His phone will be in his pocket, his focus will be on the road, but he has access to the entire internet of knowledge. So he'll just decide, I want to learn something about...
Everybody ain't built like that. I'm just putting this out here. I've seen y'all in the street trying to do 2 things at one time while driving, as in driving and it don't work. Folks ain't built like that to be on the road dissecting the world's unlimited access to knowledge while driving. Just
sleep habits today, for example. And this PIN can bring that knowledge in, summarize it, and speak it to you. And this is actually the first moment where I thought, oh, that's interesting. When Drisha, my fiance, does any kind of long drive, she often spends a good half an hour beforehand trying to find a good podcast to listen to during it. And even then, they'll often veer off topic or not be exactly what she was hoping for. But this, the world's information, curated exactly based on what you're asking to hear in any given moment, well, that could solve it. Plus, the AI PIN does understand the flow of a conversation. This isn't like old school Siri where you're just reintroducing the topic every single time you bark a new command at it. You can talk in a very human, conversational way, and it talks back. So my head started spinning with the possibilities, this idea of a personal teacher wherever you want them. But then I tried it.
Hey, I'm really struggling with sleep recently. I'm only getting 5 hours and I keep waking up in the night. What should I try and do?
Analyzing sleep advice. To improve sleep quality, you can try the following. Be consistent with your sleep schedule. Ensure your bedroom is quiet, dark, and at a comfortable temperature. Remove electronic devices from the bedroom. Avoid large meals, caffeine, and alcohol before bedtime.
What I think it...
You telling me I couldn't just read that offline? Now, this is where the personality of Chat GPT for Omni comes in at. Because it has such a natural language processing system with a human voice, like me, for example, hey, make sure before bedtime you don't drink alcohol. You drink plenty of water. And do you want to read a good book? I would respond more to that than whatever thorough stoic answer that was.
Lacks is that conversational tone that makes it easy to understand and follow. You know, when you're listening to a podcast and it's a human speaking with human intonation.
Yeah.
The fact that it doesn't have that makes it hard for me.
Yeah, so we're working on some of that at the moment, where the conversational piece, we're looking at
See, it wasn't just
opening
me.
up the microphone.
It wasn't
for,
just me.
follow-on questions like that.
Yeah, so the bubble burst pretty quickly. Not only is it much harder to understand than a real person, the AI doesn't have that natural intonation, and it's only without that you realize how important that it is. But it also just takes ages. And this was not a one-off. Everything on the pin seems to take time.
Call Aaron.
See, on the demo video, it was instant. That's how they get you.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my
It's
God.
only having experienced that myself that I realize why in the company's promotional material, they're filling in all the silences by talking.
Make it sound like Gen Z. And what's cool is you can make it more formal or casual or even do fun things.
How's it going?
Because if they didn't fill in those silences, it would be awkward as hell. Now, it's tough to say at this point why everything takes so long. Like even simple things like sending a text or a call, those should be instant offline responses, but they're far from it. So either this is just a really slow device, or the voice processing itself also needs to be done online, or this is just the device checking in online each time you ask it something just to make sure that you're still paying.
Or it's connecting to the server where the software is located.
The monthly fee. Whatever the reason, it is a big source of friction.
Could you give me a synonym for the word great? And a sub to the channel would be?
Finding synonyms. Synonyms for the word great include fantastic, marvelous, talented, tremendous, and wonderful.
We'll go for marvelous.
If human intonation and speed were the only issues though, I'd be pretty happy to give AI Pin the benefit of the doubt, because longer term, those are fixable things. But I think the real problem with this product, it runs much deeper than that. For starters, it hallucinates, which has become this term to describe how AI can present false information as if it's a fact.
You can also, for those of you who watch me normally, you already know what I'm about to say. You can feed the AI hallucinations by giving it a bunch of dirty data.
So for example, one of the advertised features is you hold a food in front of you and it tells you what is in it, like how much sugar or how many grams of protein. But see, when I asked it how many chicken nuggets there are in a 20 chicken nugget share box, it said, without a hint of caution,
The box contains fried chicken nuggets. There are 14 chicken nuggets in the box.
Interesting. Well, I think it's because it can only see 14. Yeah.
So how on earth will you ever be able to trust a device's nutritional recommendations if it doesn't even know how much of that food there is?
Ooh. Ooh, they in trouble. Ooh. Ooh, they's in trouble. Y'all want to know what that mean? Y'all want to know what that mean? It can't read depth, shadowing. Uh-oh. There goes that weird programming biases that we didn't think about again, and this time it got busted on a box of chicken nuggets. I'm the color of chicken nuggets, okay? In the sunlight, that's what I look like. I look like golden chicken nuggets, you know? Just nice and even. Pretty. So, basically, that camera wouldn't see me, is what I'm saying. On a certain angle or under a certain light, which is a problem in programming biases, which I bring up because, again, we just don't think about it. As humans, we're just not thinking about it like that. We're thinking about our objective and our goals when it comes to programming, and we're dealing with binary. We're not thinking about all of these different things and effects and shadowing and all that stuff sometimes, and it can lead to programming biases that happens. Okay, that's my best way to say that colorfully without saying it the other way. So I'm just saying the camera might not see certain people or things.
Is. I mean, I talked to Imran about this and he said, well, it's not a medical device and the feature is kind of in beta. And that's all fair enough. But then what it is an advertised feature. Either it needs to get much, much better very quickly, which I don't think is going to happen because of the natural limitations of what this thing can see, or it needs to make you more aware of its limitations so that you know you shouldn't be taking what it says at face value. The idea, in theory, of, let's say, liking the look of this chair, and for the pin to be able to not just tell you what it is, but also save that answer to your notes, is appealing. But when you actually try and do that, you realize what the limitations of this form factor are. Like, you can't see exactly what it's seeing. So I asked this exact question to it about the chair, and it gave me a recommendation. But then I later realized that the recommendation it gave me was a different chair in the room. And that's because when it gives you an answer, you have no way of affirming that it's the correct answer. Unlike when you do the same thing using Google Lens on your phone, where you can make sure that you're capturing the right chair, and then you can physically check that it has identified correctly. One thing that Imran talked about was the incoming ability to buy things using this. But given that there's no real screen here, would you want to buy things on this? Like, what if I meant to order 2 of something, but the AI pin mishears me and takes that as 20? What if it misunderstands the size or the color of what you're wanting and actually orders an alternative variant? There is so much that could go wrong that you'd really want to see an entire purchase page with all the info, and you can only do that on your phone. But then also, you have to talk to it. Because there is no physical screen to type on, your key input method has to default to speech. And there are a lot of times I can think of where I would not want to do that. Like, what if you're in an art gallery or a library, or more commonly for people, a meeting? What if you're texting with your partner and you don't want to broadcast your intimate conversations? Any search request that might be remotely private, you either tell the world or you'll have to get out your phone anyway. And you have the same problem in a loud environment, like a concert or a busy train. I can tell you for a fact that in the London Underground, this will not be able to hear me clearly unless I shout. So now it is starting to become a pretty big problem. If the fact that the pin will cost you just as much as a top-end flagship smartphone wasn't enough, can you see this growing number of further hoops that you still have to jump through? Like having a permanent required internet connection, the sheer time lag between when you ask it to do something and it actually doing that thing, that full 5 to 10 second period where you're unsure whether it's thinking or it's failed, the answer to which is a pretty even 50-50 split, and then the further restriction that comes from there being many different environments in which you either can't or you won't want to use it. And that is not even talking about what I think is the biggest limiting factor, the app situation. It's pretty clear that one of the key pitches of this AI pin is the ability to lead this appless lifestyle, to not be a slave to all these apps that are fighting for your attention, and to kind of bring all of these separate, previously siloed functionalities into one seamless experience. And I really do want to say, I respect the vision. I love the idea of being completely connected, whilst also not needing to bend over so that Meta can track my behaviors and target ads at me accordingly. So, salute for trying. But given how entrenched we already are in these applications, I think this vision only works if this device can still, on some level, still communicate with those apps. Like if I can say to it, hey, send a WhatsApp message that says this, or post a tweet that says this. But it can't do that. When you message someone, it's not a WhatsApp, it's not an iMessage, it's just a straight SMS message. When you take a photo, you know I was saying that when you move your hand back, it gives you this option to share that photo. Yeah, well, since there's no Apple AirDrop and there's no Android Quick Share, the only way to actually share it is to SMS that person a link to be able to download it. Like, imagine after a party, you know, people say, oh, can you send us the photos you took? And then you actually send them an SMS link for them to be able to download those photos, one photo at a time at the Humane Web Center. They're going to think you're some sort of time traveler, and not in a good way. Oh yeah, so the Humane Web Center. This is where all the stuff on your AI pin gets backed up to every time that it's docked and it's on Wi-Fi. And in a way, this is kind of cool. The company's saying that you get unlimited storage as part of your subscription cost. And this web center is one place where all of your photos, your videos, your notes, all the requests that you've asked it for, it all comes together. But does that also defeat the entire purpose? Like, okay, if the goal of the pin is for you to rely less on apps, but at the same time they're telling you that it's not designed to replace your phone, then you're still going to be using all your phone apps, your Google Drives, your Evernotes, and you're still going to need to keep paying those subscriptions. But now you have a whole extra suite of Humane apps that your stuff is further scattered across. If this pin came out before the first smartphone, then who knows, maybe it could have set the precedent for a new type of computer with a new way of working. But we are in a world now that is built around the smartphone. And given that, I do not see a world where a smart device that doesn't actually connect in with any of your existing smart devices is useful. As it stands, it seems like the only smartphone style app that currently works on the pin is Tidal for music. And I can see why it's so limited, because, I mean, both on the developer end, because there's very little incentive to create apps for a platform in which you cannot easily advertise and you cannot easily convert people to your other services, but also for the user. I mean, think about the apps you use. How many of them would actually be useful if you didn't have a screen? Like, you wouldn't want shopping apps. You'd miss so much of the context of what you're looking at. Like, when you're on Amazon, for example, you need to see how many reviews there are. You need to see what those reviews say, maybe scan a few of them. You want to be able to see the options for delivery date, and importantly, if you're being charged to get it faster. By losing almost your entire sense of sight, you lose 90% of the information that you require to do useful things. And sure, you can ask the pin to dictate the entire web page, but that would be exhausting and so much slower. The company's currently working on Google Calendar integration. So you'll be able to ask your pin, who's in my next meeting? What time does it start? How long does it go on for? But if you actually want a clear, instant picture of not just your next meeting, but your entire day, the app on your phone can give you everything together in seconds. The same is true for all your social media apps. It's true for any kind of banking. It's true for any form of visual media, and the list goes on. And just to clarify, yes, you do have a display of sorts here, this whole laser thing, but the inherent nature of what it is, it naturally limits what it can do. It's monochrome, it's quite low resolution, and also it's not that bright, to the point where outdoors it's really hard to see, and the official advice is actually to just use your other hand to cup it. Cool. Thanks. And actually, now we really think about it, is it even fair to say this counts as hands-free? Like, yes, technically there is nothing in my hands, but at the same time, my hands are definitely not free. Actually, quite the opposite. The laser does not re-aim itself to wherever your hand is. There is a specific spot where it fires. You need to hold your hand there, and you need to keep it as flat as possible. Your hand is basically your projector screen, so the more creased you keep it, the worse your picture quality is going to be. I genuinely feel like doing this for 5 minutes is actually, ironically, much less comfortable than just holding your phone, because you can hold your phone in any position. You can support it on your lap or on a table, and you can just keep moving it. And yeah, the Humane Pin does have a surprising number of features, considering there is no physical hardware, like being able to react to messages with emojis. But then at that point, where you're holding your hand out, you're scrolling around and you're tapping multiple times, surely there comes a point where it will actually just be faster to take your phone out and do it there. And that brings me on to the gestures. You know, things like rolling your hand around. I totally believe that they are things that you will get used to. Like, I don't think it's fair to say that they're just not good after having used them once. And also, I totally get that you're not going to be using your hand screen as much as you would be using your phone screen. But what you can't deny is that the total amount of effort required to perform any given action is just higher with the pin. Like, if you think about what it takes to hover over something with your phone, it's this. If you think about what it takes to hover over something on the Humane Pin, it's this. If you think about what it takes to click something, it's that. If you think about what it takes to click something over here, it's that. If you think about what it takes to go home, one swipe. If you think about what it takes to go home, it's a full clench. Now, why do I keep comparing it to the phone anyways? We've already established that it's designed to be a separate device that isn't replacing your phone. Well, because I don't think I've ever seen more overlap in capability between two separate categories of computer. Because look, this is an Android phone. The Humane AI Pin, at its very core, is also running Android. This phone has a Qualcomm chipset on the inside. The Humane Pin also has a Qualcomm chip on the inside. They didn't exactly say which, but based on the size of this thing and the tiny batteries, I'd say it's very likely to not be close to the power of your phone's chip. This is trying to be your camera, but your phone already has a camera, which doesn't have the limitations of the pins, like only having one angle, being limited to 13 megapixel, and only being able to take 15-second 1080p videos. And then to top the whole thing off, all the features, every single thing that the Humane AI Pin can currently do, and everything that it will ever be able to do. All the translation features, all the AI features, and the ability to ask it questions and it remembers stuff, all the vision things, like how they demoed that you can put a Walkman in front of it and ask it what year it was made. You can put a shoe in front of it and ask it who designed it. Your smartphone can also do all of it, because fundamentally, the Humane Pin is just phone hardware with a fancy new way to interact with it to try and counter the fact that there is no physical display. The one and the only advantage of it, what you're essentially paying that additional $700 plus monthly subscription and having to juggle battery boosters and keep yet another device charged up for, is that your Humane AI Pin sits on your chest. Your phone does not. It's just the fact that it's there. Now, here's how it would make a lot more sense to me. You're already paying every month for a data plan on your phone, right? You've already paid a big chunk of upfront cash for the massive processing power on your phone. So surely a much more useful pin would be a pin that, instead of duplicating all of that but just doing it worse, can connect to your phone and use what you already have. I mean, that's exactly how smartwatches already work. And it would mean the pin would be way cheaper, its subscription costs would be minimal because you'd only need to pay for the AI side of things and not the data again, and all your stuff is in one place. Like when you take a photo on your pin, you can rest easy knowing that it'll appear in your phone album and it'll sync with your iCloud or whatever. And it could actually be more capable because it would be able to take advantage of the greater power and the apps that most likely any flagship phone released in the last 2 to 3 years already has. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that this type of product will have no use for anyone ever, and I'm quite happy to try using it in the long term to see if that changes my mind. But this is just me out here telling you that I'm not hopeful. Unless, of course, Google comes in and acquires the company and then integrates them properly into Android. That might be interesting.
I'm gonna fix the problem in 3 seconds. You ready? Take the humane pen. Okay. You want to add a different alloy on it so it doesn't mess with the human biofield. Solve that problem. Add ChatGPT 4.0. That'll solve all the other problems. And lastly, instead of having to be dependent on the screen by hand, you could use a smart contact lens. Boom. There we go. Progress. It's also the fact, as I said, guys, I showed this all to you. They're selling. They're seeking 750 million. Trust me, as of today, that was 750 million. Need to be updated soon. To $1 billion for the wearable AI. How we feeling about this? How we really feeling? I mean, I think the potential for it is very high. I also think the expectation for it was even higher after everyone learned what it was. Before you knew such a thing could exist, you didn't have an expectation for it, right? But then it existed, and everybody was like, oh, but it should do this, 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 this. Yes. And so why not collaboratively get together and help improve that? That would be what any designer or techie truly would want if they had the promise of such a great product like this and limited capacity, to get it done in full fruition because of maybe exhausted resources. That's an option. Exhausted resources are a thing. They were able to get whatever done and get it to market and get the basic minimum requirements met. Like I said before, it's just a question of how great their presentation and networking skills were, public speaking skills, versus the actual innovation that it is. So I don't know. I feel like it was brought to market in the promise for a great product that could be invested into for the purposes of development. And then it got out of hand. That's how that reads to me. I don't know. Well, moving on. I hope y'all had fun this morning because it's a bunch of AI wearables that in mobile devices, right, that we're going to see come to market. And we have to wonder about the safety of it. You know, we have to worry about the privacy of it, all of that. So I always tell people when y'all first see stuff come out, just wait. Just don't be the guinea pig. Is my point. Just wait and see what it does in a few years, because either it's still going to be there and it's not. And if it's still going to be there, we're going to find out it either has some type of health problems or it doesn't, or they're fixing it or something. So I don't know, but the only problem I have with the humane pen is they're not explaining how it is it's able to answer, right? Without you giving it like a precursor or prompt. They're like, oh yeah, you don't have to do that, because it's not used by this mechanism and method. I get that part, but I still didn't know what method they're using to where it just answers. Like, is this some type of binaural interface or something weird? Is this some type of like accessing your thoughts? Because you can't access people's thoughts if you didn't know. Ooh, let me show you. So I got a playlist for those of y'all that don't know. It's called AI My. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and get some music going while I'm getting the playlist rolling. But hit me on Twitter. Make sure you follow me, like, please subscribe. Thank you. That's so helpful. Here we go.
You know I'm all about that, yeah. Working out, sleeping in, taking vitamins. Do it like it's roulette, yeah, yeah. Roll it, burn it, lose it, yeah, yeah. Hit that black and red, oh. Keep on spending decks, oh. Put that shit behind me, yeah, yeah. Keep my diamonds blinding, yeah, yeah. Gotta keep it suave, Sade, the 90s. You can find me at my best when I'm naked. When I'm lying by the pool getting faded. See, I used to give a fuck, now I'm jaded. Jaded. I'm allergic to the bullshit. She's allergic to the bullshit. Orange soda, Deepak Chopra, Versace robe and my Gucci loafer. Sex on the sofa, that's my yoga. Till my last breath, no regrets, cause I do it like it's roulette, yeah, yeah. Roll it, burn it, lose it, yeah, yeah. Hit that black and red, oh. Keep on spending day, oh. Put that shit behind me, yeah, yeah. Keep my diamonds blinding, yeah, yeah. Gotta keep it suave, like I'm Sade in the 90s. Clearly see my vibe is tremendous, but you won't see through the tints in my Tesla. I be blocking out the world, it's a mess, yeah. It's a mess, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm allergic to the bullshit. She's allergic to the bullshit. Orange soda, Deepak Chopra, Versace robe and my Gucci loafer. Sex on the sofa, that's my yoga. Till my last breath, no regrets. No trouble, never stay long. Thank God for my come up. Somebody tried to slide me. It's all love. No trouble, never stayed long. Thank God for my come up. Somebody tried to slide me. All love, all love. When I do it like it's roulette, yeah, yeah. Roll it, burn it, lose it, yeah, yeah. Hit that black and red, oh. Dead, moving, yeah, yeah. Put that shit behind me, yeah, yeah. Keep my diamonds blinding. Gotta keep it suave, like I'm Sade in the 90s.
The latest paper, the one that happened even after this, which is already better, uses stable diffusion, uses the thing that you use to make art. Like, what should a thing that you use to make art have anything to do with reading your brain?
You're about
But
to
of
be
course, it goes
tripped out.
further. So in this one, they said, can they understand the inner monologue, the things you're saying to yourself in your own mind? Mind you, by the way, when you dream, like your visual cortex runs in reverse, so your dreams are no longer safe. But we'll try this. So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So there's a woman, she gets hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See a girl, looks just like me, get hit in the back, and then she is knocked off. So our thoughts are starting to be decoded. Yeah, just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance. Or if you want to generate images that maximally activate your pleasure sensor, anything else. Okay, but let's keep going, right? To really get the sense of the combinatorics of this. How about, can we go from Wi-Fi radio signals, sort of like the Wi-Fi routers in your house, they're bouncing off radio signals that work sort of like sonar. Can you go from that to where human beings are to images? So what they did is they had, a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
Large language models, or LLMs,
dreaming about reading minds for ages. Psychics, magicians, mentalists, employing all kinds of fakery to get attention. Alam Alasambra. Mind reading is no longer a fantasy. We can actually do that now, and the secret sauce is artificial intelligence.
New research shows that the tech can help read people's private thoughts.
Researchers have used AI to translate brain scans into text and turn it into what looks like inner dialogue.
I worry that there's a future that we're just not ready for.
This is an image of a giraffe that the computer has never seen, and this is what the computer thinks the human is seeing. Yeah. So our thoughts are starting to be decoded.
Welcome to the fascinating and slightly scary world of brain-computer interfaces. The prehistory of real mind reading started over 100 years ago when people discovered a thing called brainwaves. Well, they aren't really waves in a literal sense. They are ripples in the electrical field created by your nervous system. For a very long time, nobody really knew how to read those signals or even what they could do. But then, several inventions allowed us to understand them better. And one of those inventions was EEGs.
EEG stands for electroencephalograph, and what it's basically doing is measuring the brain waves that your brain is putting out. When the neurons in your brain spark, an electroencephalograph can pick up the frequency with which they are firing. It measures that electric potential in the brain, and that creates a brain wave pattern that it can measure there.
Now we could see the brain in action, tides and flows of electricity pulsing within the skull. Creating software that would react to those pulses was only a matter of time. And this is how the first brain-computer interfaces were born. Simple thoughts, such as yes and no, up and down, left and right, clear and primitive patterns your brain uses daily and is extremely apt at reproducing. It became a godsend for paralyzed people. However, getting further than that is very difficult. Brainwaves are incredibly weak. An electric field created by an outlet on your wall is orders of magnitude more powerful than the one created by neurons in your head. Also, before reaching a sensor, the waves have to pass through layers of tissue, bone, and skin. If only...
Pause. That's true. What he said about the Wi-Fi signals and the brain signals. Pause. Because what hasn't been collected is the data of all of our brain waves collectively, like in a room or in a hive setting.
there was a way to get inside people's heads.
The MRI machine reveals the fibers which carry all the brain's thought processes.
It's an imaging technology that allows us to see inside patients and make diagnoses without ever having to do anything invasive.
MRI technology, magnetic resonance imaging technology, looks at oxygen flow in the brain, with the idea being that blood carries oxygen. So as blood is going to different parts of the brain, oxygen is going to different parts of the brain, and that is indicative of brain activity.
In recent years, this method was used to read words and entire images from people's minds, but it's not particularly efficient since there are no pocket-sized MRI machines, and a special algorithm has to be trained on a person for a long time before it's able to read anything. Of course, when we're talking about getting into people's heads, there's always the straightforward way. Measuring brain activity directly with electrodes put under the skin or skull is much more efficient. These BCIs are labeled as invasive, and while they require surgery, the results they demonstrate are by far the most impressive.
We're basically using a computer to read Keith's thoughts and then translate that into a machine that then stimulates his hand.
People have been able to control limbs, feel touch, and manipulate objects in virtual space, all thanks to the skull no longer blocking their brainwaves. Elon Musk's Neuralink, probably the best-known BCI startup, is also banking on the invasive technology. And while in many aspects this technology is not that different from regular EEGs, the advantage of being closer to the source of the brainwaves is undeniable. All three of these ways of interfacing have their pros and cons, and all are good at accomplishing certain tasks while being practically useless for others. However, all of them have a common denominator: artificial intelligence. On their own, brainwaves are practically unintelligible. There's no map or chart showing what each impulse could mean. In essence, they're like a merely audible echo of your brain talking to itself. Fortunately, deciphering languages we don't understand is a cakewalk for artificial intelligence.
So I think the main technologies that have contributed to the current rise in brain-computer interfaces is really the convergence of two different kinds of technology. On the one hand, it's medical devices that have always been used to try and measure aspects of the brain and brain activity. And on the other hand is the rise in artificial intelligence that can be used to process the signals from those devices.
The simplest way, and the way most BCIs operate, is to show an AI a lot of data while indicating what each bit represents. After seeing hundreds of brainwaves of people thinking about something in particular, the AI will pretty reliably recognize the same pattern again. This is how scientists generated AI images from MRI brain scans. Even the most expensive commercial BCIs have to go through a lot of training and calibration before almost working. But of course, the technology doesn't stand still. New headsets are being developed, and the software gets better and better at reading brainwaves. Perhaps we're on the brink of BCI prosthetics becoming commonplace.
Hey, got a second?
I don't look. If you watch my other broadcasts, then you've seen me explain how quote unquote neural networking works, right? In software languages. And I showed you that in comparison to this, so what he's talking about with the brain, because I'm like, that's very similar to how our brain works. And your brain, when you're a child, right, you learn certain subjects. And then that subject becomes a marker, and that marker, you slowly fill it up with information to form your foundational basis to function in the world, right? But you never really thought about what that process meant. When you're building that compartment continues to build and expand as long as you feed it information. Hello, sound familiar? So that's what makes it so great is like when you know these two subjects, you're able to see it in reflection, which is like a crazy beautiful thing. But it's also like, hey, let's let everybody know that's not necessarily new. AI having the ability to read your mind or to see into a room and reconstruct a room and all, it's not new. And we just saw that in the examples with EEGs and more. So I hope the broadcast today has been helpful. And you give me a like and a share. I am 7 minutes over, but I am going to end the broadcast here soon. And just let me know what you guys like learning about, hearing about. It's Soulful Saturdays. I go live on TikTok mainly. I did, but I probably will just be live on here later in the afternoon and have my regular format rolling. I don't know. You guys are so quiet, all 6 of you. They're on Twitch and on Twitter. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, if you let me know what you like listening to, hearing, all that other good stuff, I'm down. So let's see. Till then, let's just close it out with a good song. Have a good afternoon, everybody.